Alright, and we're here today with Paleozoic Frogs. This is probably one of the decks I'm more well known for, probably at this point. Uh, I'm not going to have a side deck today, it's just going to be the main and the extra. So let's just get into this. We have the 3 Swap Frogs, 3 Dupe Frogs, 2 Ronin Totems. That's the monster count that just makes the most sense with this deck. It's probably never going to change for the most part unless you play 60 cards, and in which case you might play another Ronin Totem. No hand traps in the main because I don't believe in hand traps. We have 3 Dinomischus, probably the best trap in the deck. 3 Canadia because Book of Moon is still good. 3 Anorles because every deck has back row, even decks that use mostly monster effects, everything ends on some sort of back row that you can blow up. 2 Marilla because, well, Foolish Burling, free Paleos, or Lost Winds is just always useful. 1 Leon Corlier because it combos the best with the frog monsters and allows you to just continue your plays because it gives you a Paleo trap back and it allows you to get another material for Ronin Totem. Or if your Ronin Totem gets called by the grave, it puts Ronin Totem back in the graveyard so you can not lose the game to not having enough Ronin Totems in your graveyard. 1 Purkaya, personal preference. I always play 1 Purkaya because I enjoy the card. Other people don't like it. I play it because I like it. Alright, for the regular traps, we have 3 Lost Winds because it's literally just 6 trap cards in the form of 3 trap cards. And the most important part about this card isn't actually the effect negation, but cutting attack in half is actually very important. People don't think it is, but attack points matter. 3 Impermanence as my only technically hand trap. It's good for going second, it's good for going first, and sometimes effect negation is also important. We have 3 Reckless Greeds as my draw engine. I just enjoy the card. It usually works out for me. 2 Rivalry, 2 Gozen because, well, a lot of the meta decks, except maybe Salamangreats, do just lose to these cards at most given times. We have 3 Metaverse for obvious reasons, as you'll see as soon as I get to the spell cards, but Metaverse gives you a Paleo and also can end your opponent's turn sometimes. It's essentially Floodgates number 5, 6, and 7. And then we have 3 Mystic Minds because, well, you don't really put in a lot of monsters on your board until you're ready to game your opponent. For the most part, you're usually looking at 1, maybe 2 monsters, depending on what their opponent does. And by that point, you can probably get rid of one of your monsters because your monster will usually be a toad. And then my own personal tech that I enjoy to play, it's Wetlands. Because it makes all Paleos 2400 and unaffected by monster effects. And when you have a Paleo that's unaffected by monster effects and it's 2400, it's a lot harder to get off the board. As well as it makes Swap Frog the same size as Toad, which is 2200, and a 2200 attack point normal summon is pretty good in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially when it's like the best monster in your deck. Alright, and that's it for the main deck. That's 41 cards. And now for the extra deck, we have 3 Toad because it is probably in Master Rule 4 the best Exceed monster in your extra deck. Probably the best monster in your extra deck for this deck. Mostly because it gets the Swap Frog, and Swap Frog is an unfair card. 2 Opabinia because playing trap cards from your hand is really good. And this is probably the second most powerful card, if not the most powerful card in your extra deck. These 2 cards are just... Gotta play these if you're playing this deck, 100%. 1 Anomalous because, well, I enjoy a Dryden that's unaffected by monster effects. Just, he blows things up, and he can potentially draw you cards if your trap cards leave the field. So, that's always useful. Or, it puts a frog in your graveyard 9 times out of 10. If you hit a spell card, that's just unlucky. 2 Starboy because it's just generic good water card. 1 Mermail because, well, it's a generic good water card, and, well, it makes things bigger. And it also revives things when it dies. So if this dies, you can bring back Toad and have a negate for your opponent. And that's also just useful. 1 Nightmare Phoenix because sometimes you just need to make a generic Link 2 and you want to waste it. And it has 1900 attack, which sometimes matters. Not really, though. One Decode Talker, because usually you're going to make him 3,300, and sometimes you just have to punch things, and you can't get a fourth monster on the board sometimes. It happens. One Unicorn, because spinning things back to the deck is usually the best way of removing a thing off the field. One Bull Sword, to produce game if I can't produce game with regular frog cards. One Bomber Dragon, because a quick play Dark Hole that you can constantly activate on your opponent's turn, and all the things you bring back are usually unaffected by monster effects, so your things don't die and theirs do. And also it's a 3k beater that burns your opponent for damage, which is just free. And then one Swamp Ship, because, well, you summon it, you let it die, and then when any of your Link 2s die, you blow stuff up. Its first effect doesn't actually matter, but I guess if you wanted to punch something and bring back a Starboy, or punch something and bring back your Mermail Link, that's also pretty good. Or you can punch something and bring back Phoenix and make them co-linked, so that way neither of them can be destroyed by Battle Noun, which is also useful. It just has some good utility in this deck specifically. And that's it for the deck. I don't have a side deck put together, but that's just how I'm playing it at this moment in time.